Welcome all to webinar series 36 of Integrated Approach to Internal Audit. I would like to introduce our today's speaker, Sir Nitin Alsi sir, who is practicing from last 26 years. He has experience of assignment of large business houses nationally as well as internationally. He is a qualified chartered accountant as well as cost and management accountant. He has a certificate in M&A from IIM Ahmedabad. He has postgraduate diploma degree in enterprise risk management and information system audit. He also has did certification course in forensic audit and concurrent audit organized by Institute of Chartered Accountants. His core area of practice is enterprise risk management services, risk-based internal audit, process re-engineering, strategic business advisory, venture capital funding and loan syndication, business valuations and value enhancement advisory, cost management advisory, setting up quality management systems, setting up MIS systems and dashboards, setting up internal control and internal financial controls for corporates, information system audit and functional consulting, forensic audit and fraud detection, performance management advisory, accounting advisory. He was a president of Nagpur wing of Mumbai chapter of Institute of Internal Auditors for the year 2012-13, 13-14. He was a co-opted member of Board of Governance Mumbai chapter of Institute of Internal Auditors for the year 2012-13, 13-14. He was also a co-opted member of Information Technology Committee of WIRC of ICAI Mumbai for the year 14-15. He's a member in to listed company independent as an independent director and an audit committee chairman. He is also managing committee member of Nagpur chapter of Cost Accountants and currently chairman of Professional Development Committee 23, 24, 24, 25. He is a member of Internal Audit Standard Board of ICAI Delhi for 2012-13 and 21-22. A member of Internal Audit Committee of WIRC ICI Mumbai for the year 11, 12, 18, 19. Treasurer of Chamber of Small Industries Association, MSME and Startup Committee of WIRC ICI, State Level Task Force of Committee on Economic, Commercial Laws and WT for the year 14-15, Committee for MSME Banks, Trust Corporates for of WIRC of ICAMI Mumbai 21-22. Task Force for Members in Industry Committee of WIRC of ICAMI Mumbai 2021. Task Force of State Government Representation of WIRC ICAMI Mumbai 2021. He is a contributor to his seminar and content. He has provided various lectures as well as he has wrote articles in Internal Audit Standard Book of ICAI, National Academy of Direct Taxes, Provisional Academy for Learning and Excellence, Nagpur, Regional Training Center of Comptroller and Auditor General, WIRC of ICAI, Nagpur branch of ICAI in Vikasa, Nagpur branch of ICAMA, Nagpur branch of ICSI, Vidarbha Industries Association, Vidarbha Management Association, Chamber of Small Industries Association, the India's Entrepreneur. He has share his knowledge through various content, technical guides on internal audit and internal audit standard published by Institute of Chartered Accountants, articles on WIRC of ICMI Mumbai. He is regular writer in higher circulated newspaper in Vidarbha and some parts of MP, the Hitardha, and Vidarbha's leading business magazine, Kama Business Magazine, contributing articles in Vidarbha Industries Association and Nagpur branch of ICAI Journal. He has acted as a joint auditor for Journal of Nagpur branch of ICAI for the year 2013, 12-13. Not just he is also active in extracurricular activities like music and sport. He has represented in state level basketball and cricket in interstate tournaments organized by BCCI of Vidarbha and Nagpur University. He has also been featured in Ranji Trophy in cricket. He is an admirant lover of music and regular singer on stage. He has led his hands and foundation of leading musical group Harmony in the city of Nagpur. I welcome you, sir, for this webinar.
Thank you so much. Yeah, Shweta, who's going to take over now? Am I audible? Yeah. May I start the presentation? Okay. So first of all, I'll share my screen. Please let me know whether it is visible or not. Is it visible? Not visible. One second. Now is it visible? Now it's visible, no? I think it is now visible. So shall I start? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Good evening, friends. I am Nitin Alshi. I have been given the task of today's seminar on integrated approach to internal audit. And thank you so much, ICA, for giving me this opportunity. I'm taking this opportunity as one of the best opportunities in the for the entire life. I've been deliberating on the platforms of ICA here and before as well. And thank you so much for again inviting me for this interesting topic. And thanks, Shweta, for the wonderful introduction. Whether I should be living to this standard that the people will be deciding at the end of the session. I should be able to live up to the standard, live up to the expectations of the audience, and let us try to be interactive so that at least whatever can be discussed, it can be discussed then and there. So that would be of great help. So it can be because otherwise you won't understand as to whom you are talking and how many persons are there and what kind of understanding they are having when you are once you are deliberating on online platform. But I'll try my level best to get into the details of whatever we have been doing this from last 26, 27 years in my practice. See, I've qualified in 95, 96. And after that, I was for 2 years, I was into a normal traditional practice of CA like taxation, filing of taxation, tax returns and of individuals and proprietary partnership concern. But then I came to know that this is not area of my interest because I would I was interested in more into going into corporates and making a value additions to the industry. So that was the objective, and that brought me to the basically in internal audit, and then internal audit has helped me uh, in getting other areas so that I could deliver so much of my professional expertise into in corporates at different level. So integrated approach to internal audit is internal audit is very dear and near to my heart, and yeah, because this is the area I feel that this is the area where you will be going into the details of any processes, you will be going into the details of any organization, you will be having an access to the different processes, the different policies and different procedures, the different mindset of the organization, the mindset of the industry and all those things. So uh, before I may start, internal audit is an area where it can open up the business consulting. Now being internal audit is being now considered as a consulting activity. If you just go through the definition of instead of internal auditor USA Florida, the definition itself says that internal audit is not an audit aspect; it is a consulting activity. So with this. I that brought me a big interest that what kind of consulting we can be given to the it can be given to the auditee so that at least the value additions can be brought on and value additions can be delivered to the clients so that they will be able to make most of whatever we are suggesting to them. So with this background, we'll just pass it on to next slides. So basically, internal audit approach is approach towards internal audit. How different areas can be integrated into internal audit, that is the outcome of today. So what we are going to learn is the approach towards internal audit, how different areas can be integrated into internal audits and audit thinking. Then areas that is requiring a special attention in internal audit, and the multidimensional scrutiny of transaction during the audit. This is very, very critical. This is exactly the area. This is exactly the things which we are going to discuss over the period of say 1.5 hours. So the areas which is requiring special attention, I've already made a slide on this. But what is important as to how to look at the internal audit, that is more critical in today's world, because see, just ticking 2 rupees to 2 rupees is not important. Just ticking just a vouchers and just doing a normal internal audit, what I've been told in the earlier before the it is being treated as a consulting activity. So we are going to go beyond uh, what is a traditional internal audit, and then this approach would be of very much importance. So multidimensional scrutiny of transactions during the audit, how it is to be done, how the values can be delivered to the client, that probably we are going to discuss. Now, herein before, what used to happen is the internal audit is being just treated as a routine activity. It has been treated as just a sibling to the statutory audit. But statutory audit, जो भी बोलता है उसको करना है. So it was a sibling to the statutory audit. But now, from past 10, 12 years, 12, 15 years, the entire gamut of internal audit is changed. And now the routine activity is now getting converted into a consulting activity. I'm again and again repeating, the definition of internal auditors about internal audit is nothing but a consulting activity, because it's a knowledge based field basically. So from routine activity, it is a consulting activity now, and earlier it was being treated as a cost center, and now it is being treated as a value center. So how to create a value through internal audit and change the mindset of the auditee, that it is not a cost center but it is a value center. We are going to give you that kind of value which is which will have a biggest impact of your on your company, maybe the entire life of the company, and we are going to suggest that kind of thing which is going to help you for the entire life of the organization. So that is what is being now treated as a value center. So it is a now consulting activity. We are converting it into as a value center. Now just look at a CA. Who is a chartered accountant generally? Those who are practicing, they are just practicing into taxations and all those things. There are other big areas which are now open. But generally, what do we have as a bag? What do we have as a knowledge uh, baggage? We have now, as a chartered accountant, what we study? We study accounts, we study costing, we study auditing, we study corporate laws, we study strategic management, we study risk assessment, we study statistics, then IT, income tax, quantitative techniques, taxation, investigation, process and MIS, financial management, internal control, and whatnot, and many more. So, if we have a baggage of this kind of knowledge, who better than us can be in a better position to add value to any client's business? So, this is what today we are going to deliver, and we are going to focus it on. So with this kind of things, if we can inculcate this knowledge into an internal audit, the approach would totally be changed. Entire approach will be changed. Now the approach which I am talking about is not to find fault but to create value. It is not to find fault in the internal audit but to create how to create value. Then internal audit by objectives. Now this is important. You might have heard the word management by objectives. Now we are putting it that in a different perspective as an internal audit by objective. What do you mean by that? Now there are two types of procedures in any organization. May it be small, may it be large, may it be very large. There are operational processes and there are strategic processes. There are operational objectives, there are strategic objectives. Now internal auditor as a consultant can target both of these objectives by the management, they are in a better position to add any kind of value to the organization, and they will be valuable to the organization, and they will be recognized. Their efforts will be recognized by the top of the organization. That means you are setting up the tone at the top. So then they will say that, boss, my internal audit is really value centered. It is just not a matter of compliance. It is just not for the sake of doing compliance. It is for the operational and strategic purpose. It is they are going to help me. They are going to help me, or they are helping me in doing that. So that is what exactly I want, that this approach should be adopted. Finally, how what is integrated approach? What I am talking. When you go for an internal audit, apply multi-dimensional thinking to the observations. Whatever you are observing, maybe in processes, maybe in accounts, maybe in internal control, maybe in strategic level, maybe at whatever level, whatever area of scope you have been given, just apply whether we can think differently, whether we have a knowledge of back, whether that can apply, what kind of subjects we can apply and what kind of value additions we can make it through our observations. And again, it is a suggestions for the mitigation of the risk. So apply multi-dimensional thinking to observations. What do you mean by that? Now, if you go for any internal audit, and if you just see any transactions, now that transactions can be seen from multi-dimensional, or they can be seen from different perspectives. How? The transactions can be seen from accounting, maybe accounting standard, maybe accounting standard, Ind AS, GST, income tax, risk point of view, process improvement point of view, internal control point of view, cost reductions point of view, performance measurement point of view, MIS and decision support point of view, or forensic or fraud detection. So if any transactions can be scanned through this approach, you are definitely going to pick up some nonsense in the process, some nonsense somewhere. And if you can pick up some nonsense somewhere, that is the best opportunity to uh, suggest a good recommendations, suggest good policies, good procedures, good control, and good strategic or operational processes to mitigate the risk, to address the root cause. So this is what is treated as multidimensional thinking, and that exactly I am going to bring it as an integrated approach to the internal audit. So don't look at transactions from only from one angle. See from different angle, and definitely you will be able to give more valuable suggestions to the client. This is what we are talking about. So internal audit. Now this is an integrated approach. What I'm talking about. That transactions can be seen from governance, from compliance, from monitoring, process controls, evaluation, enterprise risk, accounting, finance, costing, cost application, business data analytics, information technology, information application of forensic total quality management tool, for performance management tools, anything. How it is to be done, that probably we are going to discuss maybe in the next time to come in the presentation. So ultimately, I'm just summarizing what do we mean by the integrated approach to the internal audit. So what we can do, we can really do a wonderful internal audit or a value-based internal audit by application of risk management, process effectiveness, information systems, performance measurement, entire accounting may be Schedule 3, or maybe Schedule 3 Part 2, Schedule 2, or Ind AS or accounting standard, whatever may be applicable. Then compliance, then MIS for decision support, then costing system, then forensic accounting, then assistant to strategic planning. I'm very particular about using this word, assistance to strategic planning, because we are not a owner of a company, so strategic planning has to be done by the owner of the company, but we can suggest something which can be helpful for the formulation of strategic planning or formulation of strategies, records management, policies and procedures, resource management. So these are the ways and means how if it can be integrated, the thinking of all these things can be integrated into an observations, then you are in a better position to give a value based suggestions. Now let us start with the internal control. Internal audit is a part and parcel of internal control system of the organization. Now, what is objective? Generally, now this is a settled framework of internal audit, of internal control. This is called COSO framework. If anybody is listening, I would like to be heard again, because if somebody is having a different views of, we can discuss then and there. But otherwise, if I'm not hearing, I'll continue with this. So this is a settled COSO framework. Now, what do you mean by COSO framework? It is a committee of sponsoring organization for Tradeway Commission in US. They have promulgated one uh, framework of internal control. Earlier, there were many efforts which were done for setting up an internal control framework. Earlier, it was Turnbull framework, then it was Cadbury's committee, and then after so much of evolution, then this COSO framework is being now considered as one of the best framework of the internal controls. Now, there are three objectives of any organization. It is a financial reporting one, efficient operations is another, and handling compliance. But to have this, there are components of internal control affecting these objectives, like control environment in financial reporting, control environment in operations, control environment in compliance, control activities in operations, control activities in financial reporting, control activities in compliance, similarly risk assessment, information and communication. This is one of the major area which is to be addressed in internal audit, because you may find that in many organizations there are communication lapses. Most of the organizations are not having a right communication system and information system. And believe me, if there are no right information and communication system, you are sitting on a volcano. Because if something is going wrong, if that is not being communicated to the decision makers, then you will have it. Then monitoring, how to do monitoring. So these are the normal components of internal control which is coming out through COSO, and this is to be applied while doing the internal audit. So this internal control, whenever we are doing an internal audit, this needs to be understood that what kind of things we should be addressing as a matter of internal control. So what is internal control? We have understood the internal controls and all those things, where the efficiency is one of the part and parcel, the components are the part and parcel, the objectives are the part and parcel. But there are two types of control. One is a entity level control, another is a process level control or transaction level control. Transaction level controls mean like authorizations and approvals and information communication and monitoring. But entity level control is a environment, the internal environment, the creation of internal environment in the organization. That is important. So tone at the top is very important. So these are the entity level controls. Now, whenever we are doing an internal audit, we need to understand both this level of control, so that if there are certain problems in any of kind of control, we as a matter of we as a internal auditor can suggest any process level controls or any improvement in the controls at transaction level or at entity level, and that would be of great help to any organization. Now, whenever we are doing internal control assessment of any organization through internal audit, if we come out of any observations in internal audit, just see whether there is an internal control through it. Who is keeping control at what level? See, important aspect is, for any organization, there are management. Management has got some objectives. Management has to have some objectives for running off for their business. It may be a strategic objective, it may be a process level objectives, but they put up a control. They establish an internal control system to meet those objectives. And if there is a lack of internal control, the residual risk will be high or low, depending upon what kind of what levels of control they are having. So important aspect is, it is a test. There are two things which is important in internal control, that we need to see whether internal controls components and objectives are there. If it is there, whether the design of the internal control is right. If the design of the internal control is right, then no problem. If the design is right, there might be problem in the effectiveness of internal control. Now, what do you mean by this? Like, if any organization has applied some control, like to check cash on a daily basis, correct? So they have established an internal control to check the cash at daily basis. That means there is no problem in establishment of control. So design को कोई problem नहीं. Whether they are being doing it, they are doing it on a daily basis, which is required by the management. That needs to be seen. They might be doing it for day one, day two, then day five, then day nine, then day 10, then day 15. So the effectiveness is the problem. Design is right, but the effectiveness is the problem. We have just conducted one of the listed company here in at our area. That the listed company having a turnover more than 7,000 crores, and auditors are also very big. And we have done the internal control assessment of their organization. We have tested around 220 plus controls. Out of that, 91 controls were having gaps in the internal control system, where out of 91, 84 were design of control problem. Now, it's a big issue for any company. So there is no establishment of internal control at all. So there, we came as a consultant to them, and then we have established each and every controls. We actually have worked in close conformity with their line managers, and then we've established the entire design gaps into a right internal control frameworks of the organization. So you might have understood what is the difference between the test of design and test of effectiveness. Now this is important. Just bear with me for a second. Hello. Yes. Yeah. Just a second. There's some technical glitch. Now, now is it okay? Hello. Okay. So we have understood the internal control environment evaluation. Okay. Now let us come to the tools of internal controls. This is very critical because most of the internal auditors have not thought about this. That we need to test the internal control, but how to do it? So there are internal control tools which are applicable and which should be used for the assessment of the internal control systems in our organization while doing the internal audit. Now, if we have come out with some observations, then we need to understand what kind of control what kind of controls they have applied, and where is the gap, and whether this gap is giving rights to or exposure to the major risk, or the risk can be controlled to the risk appetite. That we need to understand. So first is the control environment. Control environment is nothing but the internal environment created by the organization, by the management, to make people understand that, but this is what we want as an organization. So there is a tone at the top. So there is a communication from the top management to the down level, that this is what that kind of internal controls we are expecting from an organization. So this is what we want. So we are setting up an objective, right? So for reconciliation of a party balance. Now next is reconciliation. Reconciliation is another tool of internal control. Now, reconciliation of party balance or any control account. In any organization, there might be control accounts. Whether the reconciliation is being continuously being done to establish a right level of controls in an organization is to be seen by internal auditors whenever they are checking any transactions. Similarly, validations. This is one of the input control. Now in one of the organizations, we have just gone through the SAP system. And in SAP system, the input controls was not applied rightly, because the GST number का जो या PAN number का जो field है, that was more than the digits which are required, or less than the more than the digits which is required. Now, if I am inserting like a mobile number, it has to have a 10 digits, and it should not accept any alphanumeric or alphabetical field. So these kind of input controls are very very critical, because ultimately whatever we are going to see in the next slides, you'll be able to understand that these controls, how it is effectively being used by us in internal audit, and what kind of things we could come out, and what kind of suggestions we have given it to the any clients. Authorization of transactions processing, segregation of duties. Please please always see what kind of organizational duties they have, what kind of organizational structure they are carrying it on, whether on the basis of delegation, whether on the basis of role based, whether the segregation of duties have been created or not. I'll give one of the example when we come to that site of a very big PSU. It is a mini Ratna of India, and this segregation of duties in the system was absolutely useless. So we came out with a big recommendation on this, and then we got another assignment to set this right, and then it was passed in the audit committee, and then these controls were established. Physical security and control, safeguarding of asset. Everybody understand. Now another tool of internal control is review. Review of what? Whether the review of performances at each functional level is being done or not by the departmental head, or by any other person who is authorized to do just a review of performances. Review is one of the components of internal control. It is one of the tool of internal control. So you will be able to understand what kind of control, what kind of tools, what kind of level, or what kind of controls was missing or established. Verification of assets and liabilities. I did not explain this. Access control. Access control to any system. Now most of the systems are manual to rahe nahi abhi. Most of the systems are now either on ERP or on Tally or on SAP or whatever. But in any organization, whenever there is an access problem, access control problems, ERP implementation, like for SAP implementation or ERP implementation, or even in Tally implementation, whatever, you need to have a right access control, because you are not safeguarding the data. Data is one of the biggest asset, intangible asset of any organization. And if as as an internal auditor, if you can observe, or if you can suggest something on how to safeguard your data, these people will be the management would be very very happy. It has happened in one of the organizations where we are internal auditors. We have said, but there, boss, your access control to the data is not right. Anybody can take. Now just imagine, for a sales guy, the list of customer, if it is shared with your competitors for a money, what would happen? It's a direct business risk. It's a direct business risk for any organization. So if you understand from this risk and point of view, so what we have considered is an internal control first. Secondly, what we are considered the following risk, and then the impact of the risk, and then the risk appetite. If the impact of the risk is too much, where the controls are not sufficient, then you are at a business risk. So if this can be discussed immediately with the along with the internal audit to the management, they would be more than happy to receive any kind of recommendation, whatever you are giving. Confirmation, everybody understand confirmation, balance confirmations of all the parties, may it be creditors, may it be debtors, or a number of other, even employee confirmation also are important parts, because otherwise there is a fraud risk. Then how to monitor, what kind of controls, what kind of processes the management has established for monitoring controls, either internal audit or separate external evaluation, that whatever we have discussed about 7,000 crores company or a rotation of duties, this generally is being done at the bank. But it is always better suggestion, even in a large organization or mid-sized organization, to suggest a rotation of duties, because something somewhere the person can give some hint that something was not being done rightly at the department when he was not there in the department. Supervision. Very, very critical on the compliance of laws. Supervision has to be there. So, what kind of control tools you are going to apply? What kind of control tools you are going to suggest or to the management in your internal audit observation? In your internal audit observation, that is important because you need to be very specific where the things are going wrong. If it goes wrong, what kind of impact would be having on the organization? Then timeliness, like physical verification of inventory or physical verification of assets, physical or compliance. If it is not timely done, then the controls are missing. And herein before, we might not have even thought that timeliness is one of the internal control. So timeliness is important internal control tool. It has to be like physical verification of inventory, which is the perpetual inventory system. It has to happen. It has to happen maybe on a random basis, maybe on a whatever they might have suggested, maybe on a quarterly basis, maybe on a monthly basis, whatever management might be thinking. One of the organizations we are internal auditors. They are a company of a 900 crores. They are into food. But we have suggested that there should be a quarterly or month. Some items should be monthly, and some items should be on a quarterly basis. Has to be physically verified because it is having a big impact on your balance sheet. Assets may be taken up maybe once in 3 years, or once in a year, or once in bi-monthly or yearly. That may be taken. But compliance, it has to have a time limits. So, what kind of controls the organization has established on a compliance, that needs to see. So timeliness is one of the internal control tool. SOP, all functional process has to have an SOP. Like in one of the organization where it is now, I'll not name for the sake of confidentiality. That is one of the top 10 company in terms of market capitalization in India. Huge. They are one of the biggest manufacturer of whatever product they are manufacturing in the world. They are top two or top three in the world. But they were not having this SOP right the way it should have. Ultimately, the auditors were Big Four, and we have done the IFC. We have done the IFC, and then they said that where are the SOPs? So we have formulated this SOP through Six Sigma system. Now, a SOP can be formulated through Six Sigma system was also a surprise to a Big Four auditor. We have formulated the standard operating procedures through SIPOC methodology. So in each and every SOP is going to be a mistake proofing for any organization, any functional process, and that is the right kind of controls because the work instructions, the critical success factors, the KPIs, the MIS, the format, the policies, and the procedures, they're all going to be in SOP. So this is one way to establish a right internal control system in the organization. So in organization, in internal audit, if you are coming up across with there are no SOP, kindly report it. And how it should be also should be reported through suggestions and recommendations. Now, can you believe this? I'm just citing an example. In SAP, people are now using SAP day in day out. Even a small organization or even a mid-sized organization, they are going for SOP. In one of the organizations where we are internal auditors, we were just going through the GRM. We were just checking the GRMs and all those things. And then the things came to my mind that ultimately there is an operational control because there are authorization, there are different segregation of duties, there are different delegation of authorities for passing of GRN and then PO and all those things. But I just wanted to make it more sure to me that what kind of things are, whether these things are embedded into the systems or not. And to my utter surprise, once the GRN is prepared by the store's executive, I am not talking of the store's head, I am talking of store's executive. There was no second level control till the payment was made, till the bill booking, which is called a Miro. This is dangerous. So, single level control only. So, Miro has to have the bill passing, the bill booking at accounts level, at account department, accounts and finance department has to have a two level control. So there was a problem in the design of control. That is what we have discussed. Alteration of accounting chart. Most of the people are not having the right accounting chart as well. That we are going to discuss in the accounting transformation, which should be seen in internal audit. Then there is another aspect in biometric in SAP. There was biometric data which was created for attendance, and then before incorporating to SAP module, there was a big manual intervention, and that was not thought of by management. So this came to us as an internal auditor when we have just observed the process. We have not tested the process. We have just observed by just so as an internal auditor, you need to keep your eyes and ear open. This is what is treated as. So you need to have the integrated approach. You just don't see the transaction. Like if you are checking like attendance, don't only check attendance. See the next level control. See the next level. See the next level. See the next policy. See the next procedures. So there can be a problem in the manual intervention is the problem of internal control. Now, again, if it is not integrated into SAP, then again there might be an issue. So there is an SME implementation issue. So we were just taking an attendance, but attendance होने के बाद बाकी भी देख ली. So that would be a better approach for internal audit. Risk-based approach. Now, important aspect is the risk management in any organization. Now, what is risk? Risk can give any kind of surprises to the organization. The things which can happen in an organization, if it happens, what would be the impact and what should we be doing to mitigate this risk needs to be understood properly. And through internal audit, if you can suggest a good measures for addressing the risk, then probably we are in a better position to do better value-added reports. The business and operational risk, continuity and disruptions, very important. Now, what is operational risk? Operational risk is nothing but failure of people, failure of process, or any business disruption. Now, even if an IT company, if you're internal auditor for a bank, now if there is a problem in this information system, if there is a problem in the their software, if it is not continuing or if it is not addressing the operational continuity, if something goes wrong, then there would be business disruptions of say 1 hour or 2 hours or 1 day or 2 day or whatever. Like health and safety department, very critical. If something goes wrong, then there would be business disruption, and that would bring the biggest loss to the company. Second, the technological risk, inadequate technology or failure to the technology. Address this kind of risk in your internal audit observation. Financial risk, credit risk, everybody understand. Whenever we are formulating a policy for credit, like for debtors corrections and for debtors management, whatever we are following, understand whether there is a policy. Only say that these kind of things are outstanding, like 0 to 30, 30 to 60, 60 to 90, 90 to 120. That strata is not going to help us understand whether there is a policy. So only we are not seeing the only data analysis, whether we are also going for a policy. If there is no policy, whether you should suggest that policy. If there is a policy, whether what kind of shortcomings are there in policy, you understand. Cash flows. Any businessman is very much interested in having a cash flows. I have made a research in my office where there are 60 to 65 plus ways by which you can improve the cash flows. Now, these are required by any management. They should be made known that these are the problems. They would welcome you with both hands. So don't just think from only whatever we are doing, just we are doing the debtors analysis and we are just doing outstanding analysis that what kind of debtors and kitna period and kitna paisa aane wala hai. That is not important. Important is the policy as well. Important is the internal control as well. Important is the procedures as well. Important is the responsibility as well. Important is the authority as well. Important is the responsibility accounting as well. Important is accountability at the level. Important is the MIS of that. Importance is the job description of that particular employee who is handling it, credit. These are the integrated approach. That is what we have been talking. Political and social risk. Social risk now, ESG is coming through it thick and fast. That we are going to discuss maybe in the next slide. Human resource, very critical. Now, human resource A talent acquisition here we have written a talent acquisition. Now, this talent acquisition just don't just see that whatever talent has been acquiring, even if you are not technical expert in that, but at least see to it that whatever the job descriptions have been created, whether the talent has been acquired in that portion of not or in connection with that or not, because this is one of the biggest value driver. We are internal auditors in one of the company where it is a listed company, more than 3,700 crores turnover of a steel manufacturing. So we were just doing uh, HR audit, HR internal audit. So what we have done, not from hire to retire cycle, but we have also seen the succession, whether there is a right succession planning or right succession at each key levels of the organization. Now, that was not in our scope, but as a matter of extension of the integrated approach, we have done that. Talent acquisitions, we have just inquired one of the organizations that, boss, what is your probation period? So they say that we have a probation period of say 6 months, and it can be even extended to uh, it can be even extended to 1 year. Why do you require that? The person should be available, according to me. The person should be available to your organization for giving your profits or for giving the contribution or contributing to your cause or objectives within 3 to 4 months. That means you make your processes that strong. How State Bank does it? How big banks are done it? Does it? How big organization does it? They they put a right control through SOPs. Now this was not in our scope, but this was out of the things which we have gone, which we have suggested to them, and they said, "Boss, you are right." So we need to be very careful while drafting up the SOPs, whereby we can really retain the people. It can be trained. The training can be done. Now, employee training. Employee training is one of the value drivers. It is one of the sustainability drivers, because if there is a continuous attrition in the organization, your profit, your organization may not be sustainable, and there will be large dislocation. So this is one of the value drivers of the organization. So in one of the internal audit, this employee training was not there. What we have seen, we were just going through the accounts and we said that was there is no expenses of employee training. How this can happen? Or there were very minimal employee training expenditures. So how this can happen? Then we got to know, understand that there is no right calendar of employee training. There is no periodical employee training or skilling or upskilling. Then how are you going to make profit? Because they are the person who are going to bring you the profits. So these kind of thinking should be brought in the observations of the internal audit, and then we took this matter to the audit committee, and audit committee has held this was, boss, this is excellent. This is what we exactly wanted, that what kind of things are not right for the sustainability, for the profitability, for the bottom line improvement, or for the skill development, for the retention, and for everything. So this is important. So legal risk. So don't just look at from one angle. So marketing risk, competition and pricing, environmental risk, ESG. Now, where in one organization where it is not a big organization, it is hardly 300 to 400 crores now, 300 plus crore turnover, but they might be touching 400 plus maybe this year. But they are exporters. Now, ESG concept is now being established across world. So we have said that, boss, whether are you when are we going to be ESG compliant? So, well, sir, it is not applicable to us. But forget about the application of it. But if your customer is not willing to take something from you because you are not ESG compliant, then what would happen? Then there is a direct business risk. Then they have thought that yes, this is important. So now environmental, social, and governance. These are the aspects which are going to be in your supply chain. So you need to develop the process, you need to develop the strategy, you need to develop the risk assessment framework in EHG and everything. Now, this is not what part of internal audit, but we have included as a matter of integrated approach. Now, next is process. whenever there is a business, there has to be processes. If there are processes, there has to be effectiveness of the processes. What is the effectiveness of the processes? If it is reaching to the process level objective, then the processes are effective. If it is not, then there is deficient process. So there are operational efficiencies. Like operational efficiencies is one of the part and parcel of the internal control system, and it should be addressed in internal audit. What is in what is important and what is the essence of operations is the cost and time. Now we also know the strategic planning. We also know the strategic management. We understand the value chain analysis. What they say, what they say that profit comes from the operations. Profit doesn't come from a supporting activities. So operations may cost and time is important. Now in operation efficiencies, if there are approval delays, if it's a maverick spend means anything is being spent without generating PO. Every now and then there is a emergency purchases. So these are all going to be a cost. It is not definitely not going to be cost effective. Then no standardization of process. Then lack of coordination between the department. Mistake, there is no mistake proofing. Continuously the mistakes are being done at operational process. It is going to give the intangible cost, long recruitment process, and so on and so forth. There are I can list down hundreds and hundreds and thousands of inefficiencies. This needs to be addressed because this is going to affect one way or the other the profitability of the organization. And understand this: the most dangerous kind of waste is the waste we do not recognize. So this, if we can address in the internal audit, just don't look at the transaction. Look at the transactions from this perspective, where the transactions are not operationally, where the operations are not efficient. The most dangerous kind of waste is the waste we do not recognize. So we need to understand the waste. We need to recognize different waste. Just just see this. Now screen is visible now. Am I audible? Hello? Hello? Am I audible? My screen is also visible, no? Because I am going to discuss some practical case studies. Okay. So just see this. Just see this. Now this is an actual data where I was just going through the party analysis. I was just going through the party balances, and there I came to know about this. The opening balance is only 3468, and this company is not a small company. Though the transaction you might be looking at a small one, but there are huge kind of transactions like this. Just look at this organization. Look at this transaction. The opening balance is 3468. Then there was a billing which was made on September, and there is a credit balance lying in the organization, lying in the party balances. Now I was going through the negative ledgers. Debtors may credit balance, creditors may debit balance. Then I came to know that this original 3468 was given against the credit note which was passed. But when the credit note was given to the customer, how the customer has not claimed, that is what I have written there. How it was not claimed, how not claimed by the customer. Then I went into the process that how they are issuing the credit notes, and then I found out that the credit notes of the customers are being given by the department who's handling the user department who is handling that customer. That was horrible. So we changed the entire process. The credit note has to have a confirmation of like a debit note from a party, but it was never given. And this excess party was not knowing that this excess payment was there. And when the party came next, this invoice was generated. Party was made to pay in cash. The cash was pocketed, and the balance was just left at against excess payment. CN not given to the customer, so there was a fraud. So when we identified this kind of fraud, I have gone through the entire party level, entire party accounts, and we could find many such kind of transactions. So look at the processes. So now what we have seen from a data, from a party analysis, to a process problem, to the credit note problem, and then ultimately a fraud investigation. So you need to have this kind of integrated approach in the organization. Now we generally as an internal auditor are generally doing the internal audit of accounts department. Now in accounts department, whether ever have we seen this, the answer to be given by the respective participants. Whether you have seen the accounts function who is giving this kind of value additions or not. Whether they have a proper accounting chart. Most of the small organization or mid-scale organization or small organization would not even understand what is accounting chart. I came across many chartered accountants who doesn't understand accounting chart. But accounting chart is very important. Accounting process has to be accurate. What kind of processes they have employed or they have employed to make accounting process accurate. Whether it is helping the MIs, whether it is helping the compliance, like for a tax audit, there is a separate head which is to be given payment made to clubs. So whether this accounting process, whether do we have such kind of accounting head or not? Do we have a labor laws compliances or not? Do we have the accounting process which is going to give us the information about the compliance of the laws as well? Then whether the accounting process help analysis, whether the accounting expenses help expense control, like for a traveling expenses. Traveling expenses, we have created a head where we have created a 9 heads in traveling expenses. So by just click of a button, we were in a position to know what kind of things we have spent on fare, on lodging, on boarding, on conveyance, whenever they are on travel. So where is the opportunity for cost saving? But this we have brought this through internal audit, accounting process, proper segregation, proper cost. Like there is always a problem between self promotion and staff welfare. If you have done something good, if you have celebrated something good, whether then people just like that they put it into staff welfare. Staff welfare is not a head to be put in most of the time because staff welfare has to have only the things which is spent for the staff only because that is again a separately disclosed head under schedule 3 part 2. So we need to understand that this account function, whether the account function is really value adding or not, then right classification, whether it is helping the finance, whether there is a correct classification of current and non-current items. This needs to be seen because ultimately they are continuously going at the debt equity ratio and the capital employed ratio and all those things. So we should have this kind of accounts function. So whenever we are auditing the accounts function, don't only look at the transaction, don't only look at the head, don't only look at the whether the accounts function helps like this. Just make yourself very clear and sure about it. Information system, very critical. But that most of the organizations now are automated. They are functioning on automated basis. So general IT controls, application controls, network systems, and safeguarding of assets. That is knowledge, that is data, which is very critical. Just see. Now, in one company, there were lenient IT control. Now, I'll just discuss the case about one of the PSU. Even a purchase guy, a purchase executive was having a access to the accounts information. Then there was a straight data security threat. And that was not in our program. We were just going through the normal audit procedures and then we could find what kind of access control they have given. A purchase guy, a purchase executive or a stores executive having an access to the accounting data, he doesn't understand the importance of that. But this kind of, it was a mini Ratna of India. It is a mini Ratna of India. Can you believe this? Employee email ID was in the vendor creation, in the vendor master. It is straight fraud risk. In one of the organizations, it's a pharma company, we were just going through P2P end-to-end process flow, procurement to payment. And we were just going for the GRN and we were just पहले PO आया PI हुआ फिर PO हुआ PO होने के बाद फिर GRN बना. Then after GRN the bills have passed and then payment was made. So we were just going for the in one thing, we've just come across something which led us to see that whether the vendor masters have been rightly created. And to our surprise, what we could identify in PO, whatever the payment terms was given in the PO at the time of bill booking by accounts department, you could have changed that payment terms. Like the payment term is like 45, it can be done 15. And the internal auditors were, earlier internal auditors were, we were taken next internal audit, but earlier internal auditors were Big Four or Big Eight. So it is how you look at the things. So what we did, सर 45 45 45 45 45 का PO का payment terms है, and here it is 45. But what we did, we have done the just the performance testing. We said, boss, whether this can be changed. So he said, no. Once the PO is finalized, then it cannot be changed. We said, just take a sample, just take a chance, and whether we can change this, and the field could change. So this was a shock to the management, and this could have brought the big fraud risk, or they might have even done it prior to we getting an appointed as an internal auditor. So changes in payment terms at Miro level, horrible. Master data updation, why registered people, then different employees, same bank account. So these IT controls has to be seen from different angles. In one of the organization, we were doing the sales audit. And in sales audit, we came to know that sales and entire sales process, so we came to know that whatever amount is due from the customer, that was not coming from more than 90 days, and it was 90 days and above. And we said that who is following it up? What kind of control you have applied for this kind of debtors collection? No, sir, all the follow up is going on. This person is continuously following up, but that person is not traceable. What do you mean by this? No, they said that we have not received any bill, or they said that the bill we have not received and we have not recorded transaction, so we have not made the payment. So the problem was wrong billing address. Then we have gone into the system customer master, and then we observed horrible problem in the customer master. Wrong billing address was given in the customer master, which led that the bill has not received. There was a problem in the SAP implementation. There was a validation control. Ultimately, when we got into this, we saw that the GST and the PAN numbers and the mobile numbers, the field is they can put any kind of information, and the field was not restricted to certain numbers, which should be like what we have discussed about the mobile. Mobile has to have a 10-digit number. Then we said, was okay, this has happened. Okay, there is a problem in SAP implementation. There is a problem of long billing. There is a problem in the customer master. Then it comes, who reviews masters? So ultimately, what we have discussed in the internal control, that review, we have applied this review. Who reviews the internal control? Who reviews the master? So nobody does it. Then we have said who reviews the logs by any department. If there is a change in the master, customer master, there should be log which can be generated. Who checks this? Nobody was checking. There was no dual level control in the master creation because they say that SAP has not given us. There cannot be. It is the facility is not available in SAP. Then they have raised the ticket to SAP to plug this. So from where we came and where we ended up. So that is what we are talking of integrated approach to internal audit. MIS. MIS has to have accuracy, timing, format, and person. But you can integrate your internal audit and different observations, where we have also done that whatever critical information which is required by the management for decision support, it has to flow. And when we have seen the entire MIS, there was no such kind of things. Now, which was there? The integrity and information is right, but what is important? Then we have included all these things identified during internal audit, that these are all business risk problems and business continuity and sustainability issues. There was no MIS for major actions by the competitor. There was no MIS in rise in sales concentration. There was no MIS when business risk at major customer or major vendor. If there are certain things that if your vendors are uh, unrest, that point number 7, unrest at vendor location. Now, if your vendor, if they are facing any financial problems or what, and you are dependent on that vendor, then your supply chain would go for a toss. So there is one framework called SCORE framework, SCOR, that is supply chain framework. It is also called SCORE and DECORE framework. So you need to understand all these frameworks. It is a knowledge-based field. Internal audit is nothing but a knowledge-based field. So you need to understand all these things. So unrest at vendor location might create a business risk and sustainability at your client's place. And there was no MIS of this kind of import. Customer acquisition cost. This is very, very critical. In one of the organization, one customer acquisition cost was only parties. इनके साथ पार्टी किया, उसके साथ पार्टी किया, कस्टमर के साथ, ये कस्टमर के साथ खाना खाने गए, वो कस्टमर के साथ पिक्चर देखने गए, एंड ये ऑलमोस्ट एवरी ऑल द कस्टमर, all the sales promotion expenses were that. There was nothing for branding. There was nothing for scaling up the business to next level. There was no spent on strategies. Then we have actually identified, we have calculated the customer acquisition cost, and then when we have reported this customer acquisition cost to them, they said, boss, this should have been given to us day in, day out. That is what we are saying, that whatever MIS you are creating, this should have been included in this. Like most of the inventory. Like just see the example of inventory. Now you might be going for an internal audit where there are a number of inventory obsolescence. There are a number of non-moving and slow moving and non-moving inventory. Now everybody of us understand that non-moving is locking up some value because we have already paid for it. And now the question comes, what valuation you are doing for this? Next question comes, what kind of impairment effect you are going to give it in account? Correct? Now go for the another thing, whether why this inventory obsolescence has happened, whether it is B2B business or it is a B2C business, you need to understand the root cause behind this inventory obsolescence. Whether we need to change the business model because the test of the customers have changed. The business processes at your next business might have changed. That is why they are not going for this kind of inventory or then this kind of products or whatever. So do we need to change the business model? Now this is a strategic decision. Do we need to change differently? What is the tax effect of this? Whether there is in inventory obsolescence, whether there were the policies and whether there are the right provisions. So one aspects can be seen from different angle. That is that exactly I am trying to stress upon while doing the internal audit through integrated approach. Now just look at this. These are all coca beans, coffee beans. You have to identify the human in this coca bean. Those who are listening to me, they may share or the technical support can do something for us. Okay, we'll not waste time. Here is one. So what we have done for this? What I'm trying to address on this? I'm trying to say that you need to develop an eye to see the exceptions in the internal audit. Now this is an exception. You should be able to identify the exception, and then exception has to be seen from different angles, like what accounting and GST and tax and risk and fraud and process improvement and internal control and cost reduction, whatever angle you might be seeing. This is an integrated approach. Now this, your as an internal auditor, your eyes and ears should be open, and you need to develop an eye to see beyond what is being presented before you. That may be a fraud. This exactly we are now coming to forensic. So generally, this is a knowledge which I wanted to share. I want to share. The who would do fraud? The person who would do fraud, who would not take an employee, the employee would not take a vacation. or the person who is the egoistic. I'm not saying that every now and then they would do it, but these persons are likely to commit a fraud. They are likely to do fraud more than others. So likelihood of they doing a fraud is more where they are having all these ingredients and all these attributes. If the egoistic employees, the employee living beyond means, if we don't have any, we cannot purchase like one mobile of 10,000 and 30,000 and 40,000. And the person who is having a salary of 10,000, 15,000, 20,000, he is having Apple mobile. So living beyond means. Whether there is a complaint and whistleblower is another, or for listed company or for even a small or mid-sized organization, you must suggest a whistleblower policy. And it has, once the policy has been created, it has to be reviewed on a yearly basis. Now, the person is having a midlife crisis. He is likely to commit a fraud. He is likely to do fraud. The person who is having extramarital affairs, he is likely to do fraud. If he is highly leveraged, like उसको गेमिंग का ये है, अभी तो ड्रीम 11 चालू हो गया, रमी चालू हो गया. If he is highly leveraged, that person is likely to commit a fraud. One employee does it all. If this is the phenomenon in the organization you are auditing, then look at that employee, because he's likely to commit it, because there is no segregation of duties. Using exemptions, whatever you are asking him, they will always use some exemptions for this. He's already having the he will always try to beat the system. The person will always try to beat the system. They have a habit of beating the system. This person will commit a fraud. Now, these are the normal opportunity frauds. So now we are coming to the fraud. Vendor frauds, preference to vendors. In one of the bank where we are internal auditors, we were just going through the vouchers and the expenditures, where we found that this one employee, one employee's address was matching with the vendor's address, and that vendor was IT head of that organization. He has created a different company or a different entity fraudulently, and all the AMCs, all the expenses of whatever IT department was incurring was routed through all this fund, and he was minting money through this. Nobody was aware of this. It is only our eye and ear which was open at the time. Was where do you say that? If he has given one address, so we were knowing that this person stays there, and immediately when the vendor invoice came, we just match that the areas which they are living, whether it is right or wrong, whether it is correct, whether it is matching or not. And to our surprise, we could identify the big fraud. Account receivable, accounts payable, fake payments. We are going to discuss with one case. Use of company's resources, frauds in tendering process, unmoved credit balances. Unmoved credit balances is the genesis of fraud. It's a mother of fraud. In one of the PSU, we have identified this, where myself, CBI, and Chief Vigilance Officer will investigate it. This unmoved credit balances is nothing but the liability to the organization. If it can be fraudulently paid to the organization, to the vendor who is not claiming by creating a separate different account, it will be difficult to identify. Fixed asset. If the asset is received, आजकल एक पे एक मिलता है. Like if we have purchased some plant and machinery or something, and some part or some big part which is having a different relevance comes free of cost. So you need to have a control on these kind of things. Unsettled advances, scrap. There are general opportunity frauds. We have just narrated. We have just listed it out outright. Now look at this invoice. This is a slightly old, but just for the sake of. Now you need to see this. What is the vendor's name? Easy Prints, manufacturer of identity cards. What he has done, this is the actual invoice. Asian Paint, Burger Paints, cement, oil paint, silver, also painting. What is the amount? 3,371,000. where it was debited, repairs, maintenance, building. So this type of things are to be seen from a fraud angle because the vendor कौन है, करता क्या है, where it is debited, and when we were scrutinizing repairs, maintenance, building, we were just going through because we were doing 100% of repairs maintenance. Why? Because there might be some item which can be capitalized, and mistakenly it was debited to repairs, maintenance, building. But that was our objective, and what we could find out this. So this is a normal vendor fraud, which you should be very aware. We should be very vigilant of. Now checks tampering schemes, payment frauds. अभी तो ऑनलाइन फ्रॉड हो रहे हैं. ऑनलाइन फ्रॉड में अगर तुम्हारा मास्टर, कस्टमर मास्टर और आपका वेंडर मास्टर बराबर क्रिएटेड नहीं है, देयर इज नो राइट कंट्रोल्स इन दैट, there are direct online fraud which is happening. You will find n number of frauds of payment frauds, like forged signatures or forged identity, and the employee himself is putting his own bank account number, and whenever because there is no system of vendor confirmation and all those things, and whenever the vendor would come and shout against the company, then only they would come to know that this type of fraud has come by the time the employee would have left. So I'm going to discuss one important and very interesting case study which has exactly we have investigated in one of the organization. Now look at the check. चेक दिख रहा है ना सबको, टेक्निकल टीम? हेलो? हाँ. Now this is very, just look at the sign. This is a typical, this is the actual check. Huh? The bankers were involved. The person who was handling the thing was employee does it all. It was an employee does it all case. He was handling the entire process of payment, procurement से लेके payment तक he was handling. There was no segregation of duties. Look at the sign. Just 3 lines like Trishul. Now, is this to be a sign for a signing of a check? So we have identified. Then we have booked the even bankers, and bankers ka employee was also involved in this kind of frauds. So look at that angle where don't just see that whatever is coming before you. Please go and see beyond what is being presented before you. That is important in internal audit. Performance measurement, performance management. See the key performance indicators. What is important? Because these key performance indicator is the parameter of operational efficiency. This is going to affect your bottom line. This is going to affect your profitability. This is going to affect your value addition. This is going to affect your valuations if you are going for a strategic investment. So you must know where are the things, what needs to be seen in internal audit. So KPIs are very, very critical. Like for any, so understand the KPI. Just go and visit one site, KPI libraries. You would find industry-wise, process-wise, different KPIs, and that would help you in carrying out the right internal audit whenever you are doing. Because see, number of customer complaint. Now this is going to expose the company or expose the auditor to the business risk. Number of customers lost, again a business risk. No on-time delivery, business risk. Now, where does the Indigo stand? Why we travel generally by Indigo? Why we prefer Indigo? Because it is all on-time departures. Because of the on-time departures. So understand what kind of KPIs you need to apply while doing the internal audits, and focus on that particular KPIs, and you would be in a better position to give a better suggestions to the management. So delays in preparation of credit note for sales and return, and there are n number of things. I can go on and on and on and on. But just for the matter of knowledge, I've just narrated this. Where the wastes and operations can come: transportation, delivery time, inventory, non-moving and slow-moving inventory. Whenever there is a non-moving and slow-moving inventory, always go for the root cause. We have discussed with obsolescence just a few slides back. Waiting for all resources. Now just imagine you are waiting for a person, or you are waiting for any material or persons or money or whatever resources, for operations which is going to give you profit. If it is waiting for non like supporting process like IT, admin, HR, accounts, slightly it would not affect that much. But if you are waiting for a resources which is going to be helpful in building up the profitability or building up, then the waiting for resources will be waste in operations. Please identify this and report it. Overproduction, overprocessing, defects, rework, construction industry में there are always reworks because you are consuming money, you are giving a sunk cost to the company, duplications, redundant activities, delays, use of resources, not proper use of resources. Now, in a bank, a credit guy is an engineer. He doesn't understand balance sheet. Now, putting up a right resources at right place is also very important. Bring it out in your internal audit report. That would be of help. Like cost analysis. Do cost analysis. Like sunk cost. Annual maintenance contract. It is generally paid in advance. If it is not monitored properly, that is not going to help you. That is not going to help the organization. Avoidable cost, penalties, interest, transport on material return. These costs is not going to build up anything for profits. These are sunk costs. Once gone, gone forever. It's not going to come back. I'm not. These are cost. This is not investment. Try to understand between difference between the investment and the cost. Then functional cost, admin, adri, factory, controllable cost, the things which can be controlled. List it out, the things which can be controlled. Non-value adding cost. If you can suggest that, them to set up to reduce the non-value adding cost, probably you will be in a better position to give a better report. Now, just see the example of cost reductions. In internal audit, we identified the role of HSE. HSE means Health, Safety and Environmental Department. Where did I pick up? I was in Nasik and we were doing all this audit. And the person of Health and Safety Department was just roaming around here and there. So I told him, I asked him, "Oh, what do you do?" No, sir, we have this thing, we have this thing to do, we have this thing to do, this thing to do, that thing to do. But boss, can you please give me your job description? So, well, sir, I don't have any job description. Now, believe me, this health, safety, and environmental department can bring the biggest business disruption risk or the reputation risk to the organization. We have not waited for the internal audit report to get finalized. We have just seen what is the spend on the HSC department, what kind of salary and the value where the company was generating through their this spend, and we have asked where are your procedures? Do you have any procedures? What how can you avoid the accidents? How can you avoid the slippages? How can you avoid the social issues or environmental issues or health issues of the company or health issues of the uh, employees? Because if they are not there, ultimately you are definitely there going to be a business disruption. And if accident and all those things happen, there would be a huge reputation risk as well as business risk and business disruptions, sustainability problem. So we have said that whether you have procedures. He said, I don't have any procedures. Then I have asked the head of the department. He said, no, we have procedures, but it was just half a page, some nonsense. So we have asked them to create a procedure and we have helped them in creating the procedures. Then we said that, do you have the machine-wise checklist which can prevent the accident? Awareness of health and safety, what kind of things you are doing. So here, while suggesting all these things, we could, in a days to come, we can now reduce the cost and convert this health and safety department into a value center. But that is how we have identified how did you how I've identified. He was just roaming around just like that. So I have caught hold of him. Then compliance and governance. Other than taxation, other than GST सबको आता है, income tax सबको आता है. With that we know these are important. Factories Act, Minimum Wages Act, Workmen's Compensation Act, Employee Standing Order Act, insurance. Insurance is biggest part because that is that company has said that we have insurance, but we were auditors for insurance company, and insurance company would be more interested in rejecting the claim rather than accepting the claim. So as an internal auditor, we are very much important. We are very much required to report whether the right insurance has been taken and insurance covenants have been rightly monitored or not. Apprentice Act, PF Act, ESIC Act, POSH Act. POSH means Prevention of Sexual Harassment. Now, this can bring a big reputation risk to the company or to the Information System Act 2000, which says that your IT policy or your privacy policy has to be uh, on your website. Then CARO, SEBI, related party, labor welfare. These are standard wages meant. Contract Labor Act, ECG, MPCB. MPCB can, we were auditors for MPCB. MPCB can uh, shut down your business within 24 hours. They have a power of it. So these issues needs to be addressed in internal audit. Then that would be of real help. So ultimately, we are coming to last some slides. So what, in nutshell, what internal audit should be doing? Internal audit must target revenue, income drivers, right? What is most important to the company is most important to the internal auditor, should be most important to the internal auditor as well. Otherwise, internal auditor would only be considered as a value center every now and then, and look at the revenue drivers, look at the business model. What kind of business model? Now we are into consulting, so we are working on value enhancement strategies. So now we have embedded that kind of strategies into an internal audit program. I am writing one article on how a strategic aspects or strategic areas can be imbibed into a internal audit program. Very critical. Now, what happens is whenever there is, if you are giving something which is not important or which is not critical to the organization or to the management, then probably you would be only treated as a just for the sake of doing it. You will be, and you will not get any buy-ins anywhere. So always treat what is most important to any organization is the revenue, income, cost, profit, value. That means valuation I'm talking about. So always try to understand it. Make a list of cost drivers. Make a list of direct cost drivers, indirect cost drivers. Have everything listed, imbibing your inculcating your internal audit program. So that would be a better internal audit program rather than just going for the checklist and asking your person to do. Train your assistants. Train your assistants as to what kind of things you should be discussing. What kind of things we are expecting. Don't just go and just check the thing, vouchers of 100 rupees to 100 rupees, whether it is being recorded rightly. No. आगे पीछे ऊपर नीचे सब आगे पीछे पूरा देखना है and just bring it. One of my assistant has just one of my assistant had written on a query sheet that the gate pass, the while making a delivery of the goods, the gate pass was not signed, or there was missing gate pass. So that was an exception what we picked up. So, and he has just written in just one line. And when I was discussing with the process owners, he said, why has it happened? No, sir, that might be one of the case. No, we just wanted to understand why has it happened and why the exception was done. So you should be doing internal audit by exception as well. Like upon management by exception bolte. Internal audit by exceptions. And that was not a problem. That was not a issue. There where the material was sent out of the premises without a gate pass, and a security person was taken into confidence, and this kind of material was went out because there was no perpetual inventory system. And so these things, ask your assistants to write down anything they want, and you may pick up some nonsense somewhere. Focus on the value drivers of the company. What drives the value? Like business model, cash flow analysis, cash flows, then company specific risk. These are going to be, because we are also into valuation, company specific risk, we are also into due diligence, where the value of the company would come down. So you need to build up those value drivers, take it in an internal audit program while doing all these things. So you will be in a position to imbibe or inculcate a better reporting observations, which is important to the company as a matter of strategic objectives. Exceptions in the transaction, we have just discussed it. Expectations of the management, just sit with the management every now and then, ask them, sir, we are giving all these things, we are doing these things, what do you want us to again do? Most of the time, if you are doing good job, they would not ask you to do anything other than that. But if you are not living up to their expectation, then probably they might be thinking that, boss, we have received some good proposal from another internal auditors who would be expecting all these things, and thank you so much for the this thing, and we have a wonderful time, and you will be let go. So important aspect is, these are the important things which we need to understand, inculcate into audit program, so that at least whenever we are doing an internal audit, that would be value added and value driven internal audit. Major risk areas, like, try to understand the business risk, the things which can go against the business, the things which can against the cash flows, the things which can go against the reputation, the things which can bring the business disruption, the things which can create a big problem socially, or governance problem, or whatever. Because these are the areas which are definitely going to affect the bottom line and the management objective, whatever they might have thought. But if, as an internal auditor, if there is no support to it, definitely we are definitely going to support a statutory auditor, because we are also doing an internal audit of our accounts as well. But in accounts as well, you need to understand caro, you need to understand indes, you need to understand accounting standard, if it is applicable to that account, that company, or that organization. You need to understand the taxation point of, you need to understand the tax planning, because tax planning start from the voucher stage. Train your employees, train your person who is going for the internal audit, because it starts from the voucher stage. So please don't just see the transaction from one angle. Correct? Like in one organization, the corporate was tax. The corporate tax was to come from 30% to 35% to 30%. 35% to 30%. It was the regime of 35%. Then it was, because that was the hit which everybody was knowing. What we have created, we have made we provision for all the, we have जो bad dates say, we have written off all the bad dates. We have documented all the procedures, all the things which was required for the scrutiny, and we have the eligible bad dates, we have written it off. So we got the best benefit of 5% taxation. That is what the tax planning is. So train your employees from that angle, and always this would help in better internal audit. Major risk areas, performance audit, very important. Like KPIs, what we have discussed. Correct. Other than your tangible performance KPIs, it is also an intangible which is very important. Whether you are having a right processes, whether you are having a right information systems or information system, whether you are having a right processes, whether you are having a right internal controls, whether you are having a right training, whether you are having a right segregation of duties, whether you are having a right performance measurement system, whether you are having a right policies and procedures, whether you are having a right strategic objective which is being known to all the persons. Because if the strategies are being made at the head of, at the upper level, it has to be made known to the people who is actually carrying it out. So if these things, if it can be discussed with the management, then probably they will see that, boss, you also understand how to do business, and then you will be having more buy-in rather than just being us for the sake of doing it internal audit. So there is no concept of normal internal audit. It is always a concept of value added or value based internal audit. So what we can do, we can always do and ensure strengthening of financial reporting, because we understand everything. IFC is another point. Internal auditor must know the IFC, Internal Financial Control over Financial Reporting, section 134(5), because that the internal testing has to be done by the internal auditor as well. You must be able to understand the internal control framework, the risk control matrix. You need to understand. You need to understand the red flags. You need to understand the frauds. You need to understand the fraud practices or what can go wrong in terms of fraud. Maybe from employee, maybe from customer fraud point of view, from customer's point of view, what fraud can be done from purchase, that means vendor fraud क्या हो सकता है, then employee fraud क्या है, then financial reporting fraud and other frauds. You can have a list. You can do it. Empowering business processes and re-engineering is very, very, very important. Empowering business processes and re-engineering of business processes is the main core area of internal audit. Assist risk management across enterprise. Very, very critical. We have discussed that. Enhance operational efficiency. Like we have discussed, that operations cost and time is more important. Cost and time. Because like for a dispatch, time is important. For production, time is important. For other things, the cost may be a relevant factor. It might be the essence. So think from that angle. Try to apply it in your internal audit, and then you will find that your internal audit is at some level. Your internal audit is at some level. Your report is at some level. Then performance measurement of all functions. We have just discussed. Assist framing policies. I am again reiterating assist framing policies and strategies. You can only assist because policies has to have a color from strategies. So any management will always formulate a policy, strategy. Strategy will be uh, outlined in the policies, and policies, what to do, will be converted into how to do that is procedures. And for that, writing of procedures will be an SOP. So this is a normal flow of transactions, a flow of thing which is required in a corporate in a business. Improve business intelligence and MIS that we have discussed. MIS, one is the operational MIS, which is as a data driven, but the event based MIS is also important. That whatever we have just discussed some slides back. Impose a compliance management and tax planning. We have discussed about it. So don't only see only GST and income tax. There are a number of other laws which are applicable to the organization, and you will see a tremendous change in the way you do internal audit and the way you report as an internal audit. So finally, awarding value to the business is never mere by chance. It is the result of knowledge, application, working together. So it is not only awarding value. You cannot add value to the business. You have a knowledge. We have a bag of knowledge. But beer, it is not a chance. It has to have a application of knowledge, what we have studied. That is what we have seen that first wheel, that we have so many subject. We know strategic management, we know internal controls, we know accounting, we know financial management, we know valuations, we know compliances, we know taxes, we know GST, we know indirect taxes. That means indirect tax. Then we know procedures. Then we know forensic. We know quantitative techniques. We know data analytics. Everything, because our course helps us building up that kind of value and that kind of knowledge in us. So we are coming to the end of this. So thank you very much for the patient listening. I hope that I have lived up to your expectations. So my number is given here. Please visit our site www.growprofitadvisors.com, where it is our consulting adventure. It is our consulting venture. So I request all of you to kindly visit this site. And if there are any questions, I am happy to answer. Thank you so much. Technical team? Hello? Yeah. We have concluded 5 minutes before. So if there are certain questions, we would be happy to answer.
Hello? Yeah, yes, sir. So our participants want to know few questions. So one question is internal audit and management audit.
Shweta, your voice is cracking.
Okay, okay. Is internal audit and management audit one and the same or are different? If they are different, in what manner?
Yeah. Internal audit and management audit, actually, to my knowledge, it should not be different, I'm telling you. Because internal audit is a transaction checking, it is just a checking accuracy. But now internal audit has to have a complete, because now it's a thing, it's a consulting activity. It has to have a management audit as well. It has to have a uh, all areas covered, which is required by the management. So it should be, now it is a vast. So I think there should not be any differentiation between the internal audit and management audit. It should be one and the same. So you should inculcate management expectations into your internal audit program. That would be of it. Yes.
Sir, another question is how to overcome design deficiency gaps for a good governance of an entity.
Yeah. Now, design deficiency gap may be of any type. Design deficiency, that itself means, what does that mean? That means whatever is being thought, whatever is the objective, either there is no control, or whatever control is there, it is not addressing the objective of that particular process. Like we have discussed about cash only. Like if the management is not checking the cash at all, or if there is no system of bank reconciliation, daily bank reconciliation, then there is a definite problem in the design of control. Correct? So if this design is not correct, either there will be this control will be missed, or even if it is there, it is not effective to reach to the objective what is being required, what is being thought of by the management. Correct. So it's a part of governance. So you may have a design gap in each and every function along with the strategic function for the governance as well. Like from procurement, sales, production, all those things. You whatever things, whether it is operational control or financial control, you need to identify the design gap. And for a governance part also, you need to identify the gaps. So design gap, it must be addressed when the what is design gap we have discussed, that either it is not suitably designed so that the objective, whatever has been objective of the management is not being met, or it is completely missing altogether. Yes. Yes, Shweta.
There is no other question from the participants. So I would like to extend the vote of thanks on behalf of the Internal Audit Center Board. And thank you so much for taking us into a depth of how the internal audit should proceed. I think this will be value added to the participants, and they will be definitely looking forward because whatever is going on happening around, and we are constantly in triggers of various organizations. I think if we took a correct step in the correct way, then definitely it will help us a lot. And
Shweta, I just wanted to know how many participants were there.
Hello.
How many?
Yes,
how many?
your insights will be helpful to us all.
How many participants were there? Hello, Shweta. Hello.
Hello.
Shweta, now how many?
Yeah.
That is good number. Good number.
Okay.
And I would like to have the feedbacks. Please share the feedbacks of the participants as well. Shweta, if you can just help me in that.
Yes, sir, definitely. People want the PPT of the same presentation because I think that insight which you have provided to your example and the learning experience which we got today will be utilized, and in the coming forward period of internal audit, we can use the examples which has been introduced by you.
Yes.
And thank you so much, sir, for sharing the insights and knowledge on how to proceed and how we can safeguard ourselves. Thank you so much.
I would be interested in knowing the feedback. That would be of then we can say that this is successful or not.
Okay, so definitely. We'll ask our participant to give the feedback.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Shweta. Now, may we leave?